Well, good morning. Here's our morning routine. I'm just getting our chicken food ready. So you'll see I have about 3/4 of a scoop of the chicken food. And then I usually I'll have a cup in here for you, Jamie, but I usually put a couple handfuls of the seed in there, the seed that's here in the garage. Usually put a couple handfuls so it's a nice mixture for the chickens. Then we'll head on out. It's a rainy day. We've got everybody meeting us here despite the rain. Hi, sweetheart. I know, it's very angry at the dog. So I just take this and I kind of throw it all along the ground there. And then I lean over and I open the chicken coop. You can just let the door swing open. The chickens will all come out. Check the water, make sure there's some water in there. And I also have water inside the chicken house, so they should be pretty good. You probably just change it a couple times. All right, let's take care of everyone else. All right, now that the chickens are fed, what you can do is we will go ahead and check on the eggs. So, all right, I'm gonna have to shoo her out of here. Come on, up you go. Oh, there's only one egg in there, so I'll just let her sit on that for a little bit. Now, sometimes there's more eggs, and so I just open the door there with the latch. I don't see a lot of eggs. They don't lay a lot, and you can see the other water bucket that will just need to be cleaned a couple times. So you're in here too. All right, but yeah, they're not laying a lot of eggs right now in this cold weather, so just make sure that they don't jump out when you go to do that. All right, we're here with Sweetheart's food. Hers is the bigger one, so we'll scoop right in there. I have a new scoop for you. Take this, I fill it about, you'll see, kind of like 3/4 like this. About 3/4 full at most. And I sprinkle that in there. And then I'm gonna set this outside for her. I have not let the goats out yet. Otherwise they'll come over and eat her grain. I just set this out right here on the ground for her. And she can eat, and then I'll come back in and get everyone's hay. Now, oh, I need to make sure to put the top back on the grain, or the mice will like getting in there. There we go. All right, so you'll see here that we have bales of hay. They're brought together with strings of twine, okay? So they're like blocks of hay. But there's one here, and all the hay, if you look at this hay, if you kind of look at it, it's sliced. So as you just loosen a bale of hay, you'll see that it kind of falls into slices. Okay, each one of those slices is called a flake. So I pull, sometimes you'll do these and the slices, like one slice will be really thick. If that's the case, just give Sweetheart 2 thick ones, but these are pretty average slices. An average slice, I don't know, I'd say is about 6 inches. You can kind of put your hand around it like that. Sometimes the slices are really small like this, then you can double up the size of them. But these are good average size slices. So I'm gonna come on out. I'm gonna give Sweetheart 3 of those. I'm gonna give the goats 1, and I'm gonna give the donkeys 1. And because it's rainy, I'm gonna feed them in their stalls. Okay, so here we are. I'm in Sweetheart's stall, and I just like throwing it all in this corner right there. And then she'll just come on in and pull that out. All right, now you'll see this slice here is pretty small. You see how narrow it is? Very small. So I might give the goats 2 of these. That's a bigger one. There we go, those are better sized ones. So maybe I'll give the goats 1.5 on this rainy day, and then I'll give the donkeys 1. It's always better to err on the side of being a little more generous with the hay than not enough. Because right now they're not out at the pasture. Now, if you have a bale of hay, so this one's gonna be done, and you'd have to come in at night, you'll have to cut those with the scissors. And the scissors is always hanging up right there. So you just cut the twine, and then you'll see your bale fall apart. All right, let's go feed the donkeys and the goats. All right, on this rainy day, we're just gonna put the donkeys' hay right in this mesh thing here. There we go. Push that in there. Perfect. And that's in there. All right, and then over to the goats. All right, all the goats are in here. Hi, Coco. All the goats are in here, and you'll see there's lots of hay on the ground. As it gets colder, we just give them some hay and they let their hay, it kind of ends up all over the place. And that's okay. It kind of makes a bedding, so while you're here, you won't need to clean that up. It just makes it warm on the ground. Now, in the hay straw, we have to divide up the hay a little bit. So we're gonna put their hay in these hay bags here. And because the goats fight a little bit, I put some in their hay bag there. And then I take the other flake and I divide it up in 2 or 3 pieces and I rip it up. I put some on the bench for Charlie, our new goat. And then I put some in the corner. See, like on the floor there. Goats typically don't like eating it off the floor, but we have to divide it up. Otherwise, the big fat white ones will just eat everything. All right, one last little thing that I do in the morning, just in the wintertime, we don't do this in the summer, is I give the goats a scoop of grain. So they have a scoop just like Sweetheart. Now they're gonna get a full scoop at night. Sometimes I even give them 1.5 scoops if it's been like a cold, rainy day. But I give them a scoop in the morning. A lot of times just the little babies come over, or I call them babies, my little ones. And you see, and then what I do is I put some in there and some in there. And then you have to stand to make sure the dog doesn't eat it. You can take a stick to him, but otherwise they fight as well. So just make sure Bear doesn't get it. All right, now on to our kitties. So they're also in the hay barn. I'll pull up their food here. And you actually probably only have to do this every other day, but just make sure they have food every day and make sure their water is not frozen or dirty. So if it's frozen or dirty, you can just take it right outside to the water thing right there, dump it out, fill it up, and then come back in. So I give them about 2 scoops of food, and then maybe every other day I'll give them a can of cat food. So I just open it up and I just kind of, there we go, dump it in. Kind of broke it up a little bit with the top, dump it in, and then the cats will come and eat that. This is a garbage bag right here, and it's convenient because then I just come over here with my scoop. Like I said, maybe every 2 or 3 days. And this is clumping litter, so you can just kind of dig around in here. And we'll clean out the litter box. And I'll have it filled with lots of litter, so you probably won't need to add litter. If you do, there's an extra bag right there. But it doesn't need to stay this high. I usually leave a full bag of litter in it, and this should last a couple weeks. So I'll just finish cleaning this out. Little guy you have to be kind of careful of because he loves sneaking in the grain room. So you can just kind of grab him by the neck and pull him back. Usually Bear will keep him out. All right. And then we're just gonna fill the water bucket. So we have a hose attached here. Now I might take the hose off while we're gone. Only because if it freezes then you can't use it, but then we'll go ahead and we'll pull up the handle here. There we go. And we'll fill up the water bucket. Now if this gets excessively dirty, you can always scrub it out and clean it out, but it should be fine. I'll clean it before I leave. And then I just fill this until it's all the way up to the top. Filled. And just make sure that when you're doing that a couple things happen. 1, that this handle gets pushed all the way down. 2, don't leave the hose in there because actually it will siphon all the water back out. We learned that one the hard way. 3, make sure the bucket goes over the handle so it doesn't get wet, otherwise the handle will rust out. And then after it's rainy, you'll notice that there's water in this bucket. I just kind of take this water and I just dump it out on the ground just to make sure that it doesn't end up freezing or anything like that. And then I just put it back in place. All right, and you're ready to go. The last thing you want to do is make sure Sweetheart's door is latched open, and it should be because it was the night before. The goat door, you also want to latch open. Oh, Charlie, get down. Charlie might jump on you. He thinks you have treats. He's the friendliest goat in the world. All right. So just make sure that's latched open like that so it doesn't swing shut and then they get trapped in or out. The goats will go back and forth between the horses' hay and their hay. But the donkey should stay. You might find them in Sweetheart's stall as well. But all right, you should be all set for the morning routine. One last thing that is not so great, but Bear has been aggressive and too rough with the goats. So on rainy days, when he doesn't have anything to play with or anyone to play with, he ends up being too aggressive with the goats. So we actually put this muzzle on him. He doesn't love it, but he doesn't really fight it either. So this just goes on his head. This will slip right over his ears, and then it buckles together. So sit, Sit, Bear. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. And then we'll put the muzzle on. So you'll see the muzzle's on. It shouldn't be super tight. It should be fairly loose on him. And you'll see it goes over his ears right here and here. And then it clips. There's a little clip here. And then to release the clip, there is a button on the clip release. You'll see there's a button. You have to push the button and squeeze the two sides together. All right. Have a good day, Bear.